First of all, I just wanted to say that I and a number of other constituents here are pretty disappointed in your stances on the big things that are happening at the federal level with DOGE, U.S. aid, executive power, our constitutional crisis, human rights abuses, and other things. It's really quite overwhelming, and one of the most recent things that's happened that's an affront to our rights as citizens is the basically abduction of Rumasaya Ozturk, a PhD student at Tufts. She was on a valid F1 visa, wrote an op-ed critical of Tufts University's response in support of Israeli companies, and then was abducted by ICE officials and sent to Louisiana without any contact with her lawyer. She had performed no illegal or violent actions, and yet her visa status was terminated and she was rounded up and shipped to Louisiana. This is a clear affront to our First Amendment rights and is clearly aimed at intimidation and fear to eliminate criticism of the administration. How do you plan to protect our First Amendment rights and enable us to participate in civil discourse that allows us to be critical of the powers that be?
Thank you for the question. I really appreciate it, and I actually agree with a lot of what you said. I think that protecting freedom of speech is among the most important values that we have as a society. It's what has enabled our country to become the greatest country in the world, is this idea that is embodied in the First Amendment of our Constitution. Now, I'll confess, I don't know all the specifics of the case that you just mentioned. I do know that there have been some instances where folks that are here on various kinds of visas had links to foreign organizations that were connected with Hamas, that were involved in some of these illegal activities on campus, where you had people taking over buildings, committing civil rights violations, the civil rights of Jewish students. So I know that perhaps that's an issue in this case, although again, I don't know the specifics of it. But to your question of what am I doing and what have I done, I actually was the lead author. I introduced a bill called the Press Act, which is a bipartisan measure that's specifically designed to protect the First Amendment freedom of the press by protecting journalists from having to hand over their sources to the government or to be subpoenaed and hand over their records and things like that could disrupt their ability to provide honest reporting on the government. This was a bipartisan measure. It was actually my co-author was Jamie Raskin, who I don't agree with on a whole lot of issues, but my view has always been that you should find those areas where you do agree and find ways to work together. And we actually got that passed out of the House of Representatives. It passed unanimously with unanimous bipartisan support, which is pretty hard to come by these days. I also was the author of the Free Speech on Campus Act, which is specifically designed to protect freedom of speech at our universities, and that bill actually made it out of the House this last year as well. Thank you very much for the question.